हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी, धन्यवाद प्रणाम।
প্রণাম, কেমন আছেন?
বাস ভালো ভালো। আপনার কেমন হলো ঘোরা?
ফার্স্ট ক্লাস।
ভেরি গুড ভেরি গুড। কোথায় গেছিলেন?
আর বলুন। আমরা এখানে এই ওয়াঙ্গানুই।
আচ্ছা
ধন্যবাদ প্রণাম।
প্রণাম, কেমন আছেন?
নতুন ফেস, নতুন চেহারা, একদম পিওর বৈষ্ণবা।
হ্যাঁ।
আপনার কাকুর কাজ হয়ে গেল?
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, কাকুর কাজ হয়ে গেছে।
আচ্ছা আচ্ছা, হ্যাঁ, মানে বৈষ্ণব মতেই করলেন?
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, ভগবদ গীতা রেসিটেশন, chanting of the holy name.
আচ্ছা, হরে কৃষ্ণ।
হরে কৃষ্ণ, সুপ্রভাত মাতাজি।
బాబు అలా కంప్లైంట్ చేయకూడదు ఫుడ్ ఇచ్చినప్పుడు.
राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी,
जय राधा माधव
कुंज
बिहारी,
गोपी जना वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी,
जय
गोपी जना
वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी,
यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन,
यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन,
तीरावनचारी
तीरा वनचारी,
राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी,
जय राधा माधव
कुंज
बिहारी,
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे,
हरे कृष्ण
कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम
हरे
राम
राम
राम राम हरे
हरे
हरे,
हरे,
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे
हरे कृष्ण
कृष्ण कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम
राम
राम राम
राम
हरे
हरे
हरे,
हरे,
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे
हरे
कृष्ण
कृष्ण कृष्ण कृष्ण
हरे
हरे
हरे,
हरे,
हरे
हरे
राम
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 हरे राम
राम हरे
हरे
हरे,
हरे,
जय राधा गिरिधारी राधा
हरे
गिरिधारी राधे, जय
हरे
राधा गिरिधारी राधा गिरिधारी राधे,
हरे,
जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेव जय सुभद्रा, जय जगन्नाथ जय
बलदेव
जय
जय
सुभद्रा,
सुभद्रा,
गौर निताय जय गौर निताय जय गौर निताय जय गौर निताय जय गौर निताय गौर निताय जय गौर निताय, प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtottara Sata Sri A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai,
जय
Koti Vaishnava Vrind ki jai,
जय
Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai.
जय
प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय।
जय
श्री श्री राधा गिरधारी भगवान की जय। श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा मैया की जय। श्री श्री गौर निताय की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Srila Gurudev. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudinayet Ashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam Amalam Yad Vaishnava Priyam Yasmin Parahamsyam Ekam Amalam Jnanam Param Dhyate Tatra Jnana Viraga Bhakti Sahitam Naishkarmyamavishkritam Tat Shrinvan Supathan Vicharana Paro Bhaktya Vimuchye Naraha Bhaktya Vimuchye Naraha Bhaktya Vimuchye Naraha. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Janmadhyasya yato anvayaditaratas charte vabhigya swarat tene brahmaridayadi kavaye muhyanti yatsurayah tejo varimidam yatha minimayo yatra trisargo amrisha Dhamna svena sada nirasta kuhakam Satyam param dhimahi Satyam param dhimahi Satyam param dhimahi Dharma projita kaitavatra paramo Nirmatsaranam satam Vedyam vastavam atra vastu shivadam tapatrayan mulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Imva parairishwaraha Sadhyo ridyavarudyate atra kritibhi Sushrubhishtat kshana. Hare Krishna.
Hare.
So, welcome everybody back. A slightly longish break. Okay, so we were at chapter 4, text 19, I think. We were on 18 actually. We just touched upon 18 and then we had that discussion. Recollect?
Parameter.
Yes, all the parameters. So we had a very robust and good discussion just to refresh ourselves. And the idea last week was to understand or formulate the parameters within ourselves as a group, small groups, which we did. And I think there were 4 groups, 2, 3, yes, 4 groups. And then they had some comments on whether we are actually making progress, or have we made progress in the last 50 or 100 years or not. And there was differences of opinion in this regard amongst different groups. So then, just to have some common understanding, I mean, whilst we all are, independently thinking about the situation, and we are entitled to our own opinions, but there has to be some commonality in setting the parameters, at least, so that it gives us a very clear understanding, and we can actually experience what others are describing or what we feel about the situation. So I'm sure all of you have gone through the parameters and have written some points or notes to what you feel is relevant, or in terms of the progress made. So I was thinking, everybody's not present today. Quite a few people are not. But if we can ideally have the same groups as before. So just to refresh, the first group was Vikas Prabhu's group, Kadam Kanan Prabhu, Vikas Prabhu, Atma Maya Mataji, and Abhash Prabhuji. Okay, so they had said 50-50. The progress, we have made progress, but we've also, lost quite a few things. We have gone backwards, but it's about half-half. So of the group, I think Vikas Prabhu and Abhash Prabhu is there. The rest have not joined today. And then we have got second group, Sitanandini Mataji, Anangalata Mataji, Sumit Prabhu, and Vaikuteshwar Prabhu. I think only Sitanandini Mataji is there. So that group said, we have actually made progress. Third group, Sukomala Mataji, Revati Mataji, Sachi Mata, and Tushta Chaitanya Prabhu. All of them are there in this group today. So they had basically said that it's actually deteriorated. We have actually not made progress. And the last group was Rangdevi Mataji and Malati Mataji. Malati Mataji is here. At least we've got one person from each group. And they have also mentioned that it's deteriorated. Okay, so just a refresher. So now we'll go in the exactly same order. So maybe we'll request Abhash Prabhu and Vikas Prabhu. Since it's not many people, we can just do a one-on-one. So if you can maybe just summarize your thoughts in those categories. So these 5 categories that I had mentioned in the group is basically seeing things or establishing parameters through the eyes of the Shastra. So Shastra tells us that there are, how many? There are
7.
7 miseries.
Yeah.
7 miseries that every living entity will have to face, as long as they are there in this material world. So if we have done something or achieved something to minimize these 7 miseries in the last 50 or 100 years, then we can claim to say that we have made progress. True or no?
Yes.
Because if misery is
from the Shastric point of view, yes.
Correct. Yeah, this is what Shastra tells us, that these are, I mean, if you think about it, we'll elaborate a little bit more as we go ahead. But these are the 7 miseries people face. And within these 7, you can classify all the other sub-miseries. They fit into one of these categories.
Mm-hmm.
So progress means you actually do something to make your life, your lifestyle, or the environment, or the situation around you better. That's usually called progress. Whatever you're doing now, if you're doing something in a better way in future, that means you're making progress. So with respect to these parameters, we can now reformulate and we can have a discussion on where we are. So just to keep it simple, I have reduced the 7 to 5. And I've grouped 2 things together. So I've taken birth and death, which is basically the opposite side of the same point. Right? So rather than taking it separately, I've just taken it together. So birth, death together. Hare Krishna Mataji. Sushmita Mataji, Bosun. She can sit with us. with Prabhuji. She wants. So birth, death I've taken together. Then second is old age and disease. They are also together because, between birth and death, these two things will constantly trouble us. From our childhood, we will have diseases or we'll be prone to diseases. And eventually, after a certain point in life, old age will catch us. So they are again interconnected. And then, of course, the three miseries, Adhyatmik, Adidevik, Adibhautik. So I have grouped things like medical, general health, as birth and death. Even you could even say life expectancy. You could even say mortality rate can come under that category. So is our medical health, mortality better or then or better now? Then old age disease is more to do with the lifestyle, well-being, life, not expectancy, but general lifestyle and well-being. Whether we can lead a disease-free life more now or it was better then. Are people getting old faster now? Or, I mean, of course, when I mean getting old means, of course, people at that time also went till the age of 50. Even now they go up to the age of 50. But when people went up to the age of 50 before, they looked like 25. Now, when somebody reaches the age of 50, they look 75. Okay. So I'm just giving an example.
No, it's true, Prabhuji, true.
Okay. So that is that. Then Adhyatmik is more to do with mental and emotional well-being, which people are constantly being harassed by currently. Then there is Adibhautik, which is other living entities giving trouble. We may be able to put coronavirus in that category, but I leave it to you. It's also a living entity. And Adi Daivik is, of course, natural
All over.
resources, natural calamity, and crops and materials. Okay, so everybody's clear on these parameters. Any questions on that? No? Okay, Kadam Khan Prabhu has just joined us. So Prabhu, we're just recapping what we did last time. And we went through the categories that we would like to have a discussion today. Those 5 categories that I had put in the group earlier on. So because we are not too many people, maybe we can go one by one quickly. So you don't have to categorize into all the 5. You can maybe take 1 or 2 and you can just do your sharing and conclude whether you think it's progress or it's deterioration. Okay, strictly on these categories, okay? Not anything else. And later on, we'll come to the spiritual aspect, so don't worry. Okay, so we maybe start with, who can I see first? Here we've got actually Kadam Kanan Prabhu. Would you like to start?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I'm just joined. I'm not sure what exactly, but I think
Okay. That's fine. So we're just formulating. Okay, fine. I understand.
Okay, well, maybe since might as well just something. So yes, medical advances. So it's from a material perspective, yes, it has advantages. So we are able to diagnose earlier, maybe treat more conditions. That's the positive part, but the negative part is that itself gives rise to so much of other side effects from the medical treatment itself. Yeah. So in one sense, we're trying to increase life expectancy, but at the same time, the medical advances that we hope to provide life expectancy can reduce life expectancy. Right. So it's both good and bad.
Right. Okay. Anything else, Prabhu?
No, like material, scientific advances. I don't know where to put it under. Which example Prabhupada gives is
sorry, Prabhu.
Like the aeroplane. So now we can travel from one place to another very fast, very quickly, compared to the old days we had to walk or take a bullock cart. So now you can just travel. But then the other way of looking at it is, if something happens to the aeroplane, 300 people die in one shot instead of And the last time, if something happens, you don't have that much. So in one sense, there's advancement, but in the other sense, that means more death if something goes wrong. And the other thing in terms of industries and all that, Prabhupada says it just means more unemployment. The work that 100 people can do can be done by one machine, but because of that, 300 people won't have a job. And that leads to so much poverty and so many other problems from that. So there's just a few things that came to mind.
So overall, what's your take? Have we made overall, from an overall perspective, have we progressed or have we gone backwards?
I would say a bit of both from on the fence. So yes, the material world is a world of duality. So there's always,
yeah, you can't have a very clear. Yeah, that's good. Okay, no, thank you very much, Prabhuji. So we have next Revati Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Group members, anybody want to talk or you're giving me a chance?
No, I'm just going random now because.
Oh, random.
Yeah,
Okay.
all group
I thought on behalf of the group, I thought. You said one.
It's all good, Mataji. It's the same. Whether you present group or you individual is the same.
Okay, Prabhu. So based on these attributes, I have some notes. I'll quickly go through, Prabhu. In terms of birth and death, medical facilities, as Kadam Prabhu said, the medical facilities and technologies have been increasing, which is good, but no one can stop the death. Okay, so in that case, in that particular parameter, we can't stop death as well as birth. So there is no change in that. So there is no improvement. It's as even if you take 1,000 years, that's the same thing. Coming to the old age and disease. Okay, and diseases and other things. Recently, we know that blood is also containing plastic. So we came to that has what do you say, drastic situation. And lifespan is decreasing, which is set in 1718. So that I'm not saying anything. Lifespan is decreasing in Kali Yuga. So there is it's no deterioration. It is always lifespan is decreasing than before. And then diseases are increasing. When you take the number of diseases, maybe doctors can say more about that. I don't have the research, but as you said, diseases increasing and the medicine for that also we are trying. Example is COVID. I don't need to say anything. And the food quality is decreasing. The quality of the food, what our parents ate and what we are eating plastic. So that's it. So in those points, there is deterioration is clearly visible. Adhyatmik. Okay, have a memory. Yesterday you read sloka, today you don't remember. But if you ask parents, they can tell you taka everything. So that's the thing. And anxiety. Every time is anxiety, whether Krish is studying or not. All the anxiety. So in the past we used to study well, but now it's different. So anxiety is making our lifespan is decreasing. So that is about that, and we are dependent on the gadgets. And no time for self-realization. We ourselves is not getting. So we wanted to know more about the God, we are not getting. So in what way we are improving? Ourselves itself, we ourselves are enemies at this stage. Not enemies, but Adhyatmic wise, there are so many things are shooting us, so we can't improve much. So that is the Kali Yuga is making us. Coming to Adi Bhautik, you don't need to say anything, war is happening. So that's the best example. People are attacking from all over the sides. So no need to give anything. It is clearly visible. Number 5, Adi Daivik. Resources are deteriorating. The seas, rivers are getting polluted with the plastic. What kind of a water are we drinking? Okay, it was pure even in earlier stage. You go to the river and take it, but now it is not. So what can you say we are improving in that stage? So all the earth resources are getting deteriorated. Peaceful, happy, and satisfied. How many of you are peaceful? Touch your heart and tell me how many of you are happy and satisfied. So that is not at all there in our dictionary, but at least we are happy because of Prabhupada. We're reading the books, at least that moment of the time, we are happy. I can say this 1 hour, we are happy. And after that, we go again into different zone. So in all these parameters, I could say, not that much. So as far as these 3 whole miseries are causing suffering, we are in a jail. So if you go to a jail, you think that, oh, I'm improving very well, I'm like improving. No, you try to improve there. You have to come out of the jail with the knowledge and then go to the back to the God. So I would say, I don't know. Based on this, you can conclude what I said.
No deterioration. No, that's fine. I mean, feel free to express your opinion. That's absolutely fine. Yeah.
Thank you.
And we're not here to change anybody's opinion. We're just here to share.
But technology wise and medical aspects wise, there are some parameters which we can take into consideration. We are not doing statistics here to find out which one is increasing, which one it is. Based on these 6, one that you have said, those are the points as a group we have discussed, and then we come up with that solution.
Correct. No, thank you very much, Mataji. That was nice. Very good. So then we've got Sukamala Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So basically, I'm agreeing with what Revati Mataji said on most of the points regarding birth, death, and all that. But one thing I can see is regarding the Adhyatmic parameter. I'm going on to the mental disturbance of people. These days, you can see that people are so very disturbed, angry, and frustrated easily. Example, even simple thing as being stuck in a traffic jam. They can't stop themselves from venting out and shouting and yelling. Those days, people were so much more peaceful and respectful towards each other. So in that sense, the emotional well-being of people was well preserved actually. And the other thing was about the Adi David one, where although technology has advanced, but it has caused so much damage to the earth in the depletion of natural resources and pollution, and which includes deforestation and soil erosion, fossil fuel and mineral mining. So that is actually causing a lot of disturbance for people in the way of having proper food and nutrition and things like that. And so many people, they are so materialistic in their activities that easy provocations is being experienced everywhere, and I'm just noticing this, and it really disturbs me, bothers me actually quite a bit, because I'm just thinking how low people have come due to their minds being so corrupted due to reading unwanted literatures and things like that. So there, in the early days, I can remember, especially during my time, if like entertainment and things like that, people normally didn't rely on unwanted literatures, mundane literatures like these days. It is so rampant. Those days, people usually they wanted entertainment, something there will be nice performances and good poems recited and things like that. Even cinema used to be having a lot of moral values, and even the songs those days, they gave us so much food for thought. So there was not much immorality which is causing a lot of harm in the minds of people these days. So people actually were very peaceful. Nowadays, so much disturbance in all spheres actually. So I am really thinking, generally I am experiencing in the last at least 60 years, things have gone down so much in spite of a certain aspect of advancement that has been going on. So I would say, I'm really up for degradation, Prabhu. Because I personally experiencing it,
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, no, that's it. So no, thank you very much, Mataji, for sharing. Okay, we'll move on to Tushta Chaitanya Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Krishna.
Already, both the Matajis already explained very nicely the points. But you see in technically, as Mataji mentioned about the songs and the cinemas, which used to give us a real social life and a thought for the future. But if you see, look at these pictures they just made or they make. It's all about is a momentarily. You see it and you forget it next minute. So it doesn't carry any moral value and gives any teaching. But in earlier days, if you see a movie, you can remember it for years. Why? Because it was so much attached to the heart, people couldn't realize it. So those are the things. Even in the song, if you see the song today, you sing it, next minute you just forget it because it doesn't touch your heart. But the earlier songs are our bhajans. If you sing once, you memorize once, it keeps on singing throughout the day, throughout the year, even the whole lifetime. So these are the things giving us the indications, the social value or the social unrest. Everything is causing us so degradation, and in future it shows the sign of what is the nose diving. That means everything is going in the negative direction. Even if you look at the natures, of course, we are trying to manipulate the natures by our own effort, but it doesn't help at all. You increase one thing and you decrease the 10 things. So it is inversely proportional. You increase one, the rest 9 goes decreased. So it is not going to help us anyway. So in short, if you look at the picture, bigger picture, it is a deteriorating situation. Even when we came to New Zealand, for my example, and the year of 2003 and today's situation, it is inversely proportional. We are so much happy when we arrived here, being new person in New Zealand. And we see the day today is very, very bad. In every respect, you have only tensions, nothing else. So within 20 years, if this could happen, so if we think about 100 years, what will happen? Yeah, that's all from me, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you, bro. That's a nice summation of how things work. Yeah, interesting. Very interesting. Thank you, Prabhu. Okay, we have got Sachi Mata. Mataji.
Prabhu, Prabhu, all the threefold miseries, I believe that it cannot be avoided. It is bound to happen. It's inevitable. And most people believe that all these threefold miseries are natural, but Prabhupada has said it's very unnatural. Okay, so and in the case of technology, death. We talk about death. I mean, people lived many thousands of years long ago, and now it's just short lifespan. Is all. We have not found, although we have advanced in tech, medically, and we have not found a cure to stop people from dying. And diseases, we might prevent them, or at the moment we can just prolong, but there's no complete cures for a lot of the medical conditions. And mortality rate is, as I said, a birth. Of course, we've got modern equipment, child care, deliveries of babies. People still at this modern age, this first world countries, we still have deaths coming in. There's no improvement on that. Although they keep saying that they have advanced technology, I don't see any of those coming. Coming to stress and mental capacity of a person, I believe that it's because of technology, so much of advancement in food, the food we eat, so much of chemicals, and some of the foods affect us, and the preservative used. And when the preservatives used, so what happens is people get diseases. And those days when our great-grandparents, when they ate, nobody fell sick, nobody had, I mean, most of them lived a very old age with healthy conditions. And when it comes to stress, I feel that it's, the stress is all due to this advancement to me. Those days we walk, we don't have a car, we were calmer, going on the aeroplanes. It's good that we advance, we can travel from one place to another, but still, it's not what shall I say? I mean, there's still plane crashes. You advance so much. We are happy to travel. We can go to another country, but still, there's still disasters happening. And when it comes to advancement like earthquakes and all that, it's good that we have found the technology has helped us to detect earthquakes and all this, but still they can't avoid it, when it comes to that. So, I mean, we know there's going to be an earthquake, but we cannot control it. It's going to happen, even no matter how advanced we are. And I feel the food is badly affected. People's calmness, sanity, their sanity is affected because of all this technology. I get so stressed up when I sit in a car in Malaysia and it's so much of traffic. I just want to go back home. So I wish sometimes I've just taken a walk, a short walk, just to go to a small destination, a short destination. I get so stressed up, and most of us are taking too much of medicine, even though, and that's affecting us. The bad part is, even though we're taking so much, it's not good. And it's going to affect our health in the end. And when it comes to, shall I say about technology during antibiotic disasters caused by other people, human beings, because so advanced, people can create biochemicals, or shall I say, to cause harm to other countries, disaster. People, so advanced that they can just create nuclear weapons to kill another country. At the end of the day, it's just killing each other. And biochemicals. This coronavirus is suspected. I mean, I'm just quoting what people say. It is man-made. You see how advanced they want to create this just for profits, and and advancement, showing their superiority to another country. So, so I think end of the day, I just wind up that it's going to deteriorate. We are all doomed, and maybe our generations are very badly affected. So most importantly, they must have enough knowledge, especially when we're in ISKCON. We have that knowledge, maybe we're less stressful. Hopefully, Prabhupada said that, in order to prevent all this stress, just join ISKCON and you won't have that sort of problems, you see. And we will be able to face all these three things easily. So I think my conclusion is it's going to deteriorate very badly. Not now, in many, many years to come, before that's where the Kali Yuga comes.
Cyber attack is another weapon.
Yeah, true. All that comes in, stealing technologies, attacks, hacking,
Yeah, side effects, absolutely. Thank you, Mataji. Yes, absolutely true. So we'll hear from Malati Mataji next. Mataji, you're on mute. Huh?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Krishna.
I don't know. I'm just thinking, why are we discussing all this now? Because if I say it is a Kali Yuga, so it's not Satyug, Treta Yuga, and Dwapar Yuga. So I have to come down to the thing. So the whole yugas are deteriorated, means different. What is the reason why we are discussing this, Prabhu? I lost the whole purpose of this.
Track. Okay. So we
Because
basically started with the idea when we were reading in Bhagavatam that Kali Yuga is deterioration. And Vyasadev says that we are all aware of it. But the people out there who are not having this knowledge that Prabhupada is giving us, they are very proud of the fact that we have made a lot of progress in the last 50 or 100 years. And we are a much better community, much better, humanity at large is much better. It's progressive. So they don't see any deterioration. They only see, things that have happened for the betterment. So that produces a bit of a, complete opposite scale. So when we go and talk to such people, when we preach to them and we tell them that things have deteriorated, they will not accept it because they're not aware, or they cannot even think that it's deteriorated. So by having this discussion, we are trying to analyze and objectively, not necessarily just through what Vyasadev is telling us, but with our own experiences, that what has progressed and what has deteriorated, and overall what is our perception on a personal level. And we are sharing that so that we can go back to Bhagavatam and then see things that is happening with the right perspective. We keep the people's perspective in mind in terms of progress, but we educate them and tell them, we actually ask them, we don't have to tell them or convince them. We just ask them to think more about it.
Thank you, Prabhuji. As thanks to all of them who have spoken to before me, and I would still say we are deteriorating because of all that points are already covered, Prabhuji. So I don't think it has to deteriorate, but even if you're challenging that to the people, I mean, as you said, when we talk to others, and they have different points to come up with. So it's only going to be arguments. So why touch that point? Okay, let them believe what they are doing and what they are saying, and we put our point, and that's end of it.
Yeah, so that's why, Mataji, what we are trying to do is that if you see in the group that I put something at the end which Revati Mataji touched upon. See, nobody can argue, are you peaceful? Are you happy? Are you satisfied? Are you in good health? So this is commonality, right? Whether you're a devotee or whether you're not a devotee.
Non-devotee, yeah.
Everybody, if you ask this question to somebody, they will either say yes or no. But yes, we also know, even if somebody says, yes, I'm very happy, we know. And they also know in their heart that actually they are not. So the whole idea of having this conversation is to, like, how we meet some stranger and then we strike a conversation. And in the conversation, we try and understand where they are coming from and then try to establish a common ground. So preaching is not about pushing things and telling them you must do this. But first thing in preaching, as Prabhupada teaches us, is to establish a common ground. Where can we meet? Where can the two minds that are discussing meet? And the meeting point is something that influences everybody. And that is about well-being, and that is about peace. That's about, contentment, satisfaction, feeling happy. So if you are not, then the conversation slowly moves up that, okay, what is it that you're not? And when you ask them one question, they'll actually tell you 10 things that makes them unhappy, because that is reality. We know that, but people don't accept that. And because the media is bombarding people around the world saying that actually we have made progress, just like the meat industry. The meat industry is educating people to say that if you don't eat meat, you will not get your protein, you will not get your blah, 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 blah. And people, because they're ignorant, they accept that. But when we go and not challenge, but we ask them questions, simple question, just to give you an example, that, okay, you're saying if you eat beef, you will get protein. And because the meat contains protein, does the cow eat meat to get its own protein? Then how can you say? I mean, so we're not telling them you change and you stop eating, but we're asking them questions which will make them think, so that they can use their intelligence that Krishna has given them. So by probing into these matters, and I know some of them might be repetitive, we have a repertoire of all these points that we can ask and we can share with people. And when there is a common understanding and they say, yes, actually you're right, we have not really made progress, or my perception of progress is now quite different, I think we have done our job. We are not there to outrightly convert them and say, okay, from tomorrow you convert. But at least if we can facilitate them to think for themselves and ask questions amongst themselves, I think we have done a job. Yeah. So now thanks for sharing that.
Thank
and
you.
Good for probing that question, because we should always ask why we are doing this. So
Yeah.
absolutely vital.
And it is also you get argument back that you have to be positivity. And so it's a system here. How are you? And good. I'm very good. That's all we answer.
Correct.
And that's a norm.
Yeah.
That is the norm now.
Based on what? It's a feel-good thing, right?
Yeah. And
just because others have said, I say that, but in my heart, I know I'm not good. But when I say, I'm asked, how are you? I say I'm good.
Yeah.
And some people are brutally honest. They said, oh, it's okay. Not too bad. Which actually they are bad, but they're saying not too bad.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay,
I
thank
would
you,
say,
Adaji. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we've got Abash Prabhu. Are you there?
Yeah, yes, Prabhuji. To conclude, so much has been discussed on this point. It is very difficult to add anything. But something comes to my mind on these points. One of the things is that the technology and all that we are talking about, these are really in the duality, in the material world, everything is dual. So any technology, whatever improvement it brings, it depends on the person how he uses it, whether he will use it for the benefit of the others, or he will use it in his favor against others. Just as was being told, I'm giving one example of the medical diagnosis system that has been introduced, and for finding out relief of the disease quickly. But now in various parts of the world, it is being used as a business. Even if you do not require it, you are being forced to make diagnosis. I mean, use of the tests. And in this way, some people earn money on that. So that is one of the examples, that it was introduced to find out a relief for a person suffering, and it is now being used against any patient, any person who is suffering to make expenses in the name that he has to do that, because it is available. I mean, the business people are trying to use it as an opportunity for them to make tests. And similarly, for any other computer and communication things that has been introduced, the mobile phone and other things, they are also being hacked, and personal information is taken away. You are at risk at the same time. So it is always a duality. In the material world, any discovery and anything is being done, it has got the opportunities on one hand, and it has got the disadvantage on the one hand. And it all depends on how we are using it. And because the quality of the people, as everybody has told earlier, from personal sense gratification or personal aggrandizement, it is being used. It is not being used in the long run for the benefit of the whole community or the whole humanity. So, in conclusion, it is very easy to tell that in spite of all improvements and all that, we are not very happy, because the very reason is that we are not using it for the benefit. And unless, as it is part of all the devotees know that no one can be happy unless he aligns himself with the satisfaction of the Lord. And since that is not being done, we are away from that. godless people cannot make any benefit to the society.
Correct.
And
Very
I
well
think
said.
that is the
Good,
conclusion we are
good point.
getting.
Good point there in terms of usage. Yep, absolutely. No, thank you, Prabhuji.
So all that with that I conclude.
Sure, Prabhu. Thank you. When last we've got Vikas Prabhu and Puja Mataji, if you're there.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah, I think Puja is listening to Gurudev's lecture. So yeah, I think most of it is already covered. But like I said last week, a couple of weeks back, I mean, I definitely think we have deteriorated, not advanced. So I'll just cover on a couple of points. If we talk about Adhyatmic, though we have made advancement in technology, like, whether it's social media, if you see Instagram, Twitter, Snap, people are actually making money out of those social media apps. But the downside is, like, and many experts have also said that it's all fake. Like, what do you see on these social media? It's fake. Like, you only get to see the good times of people that they are spending. Like, it's not their actual life. But what the damage that it's doing is on the youth, and basically the youth of today, they feel that they are not good enough, and it's actually impacting them, and they feel more isolated and disjointed. They have that complex. They are building that complex within themselves that they are not good enough. So that's basically resulting in their mental health and well-being. And so it's like, though we have advanced in technology, but the downside is, it's affecting youth mental state. And if we talk about Adibautik, everyone talks about global warming, and, we've got that Swedish activist, Greta Thunberg, she has got millions of followers, but no one actually talks about animal farming and, how it is affecting global warming. Whenever I see those mass gathering for global warming, and people talking about we should do this, that, no one actually talks about cutting down on meat consumption, and that, like you said, it all comes down to the meat industry and how things are marketed by the meat industries, promoting their products. And I feel that, it's because there is a talk about global warming and not enough talk about animal farming. It's actually affecting the life expectancy. Like, you consume a lot of preserved food, and, I used to eat meat, back in the days, and, we see so many people eating sausages, and, if you think of sausage, it's all the crap and junk that's mixed in that, sausages. But people don't realize, and that's affecting the health and old age, and ultimately death. So the life expectancy has come down because of that whole Adibautik. It's all cycle to me, and basically, to summarize, we have deteriorated, even though we can see advancement in technology, but yeah.
Right. No, thank you very much, Prabhuji. So I think in pretty much, we all knew the conclusion. Obviously, we were not expecting something out of the blue, but it was a good, robust conclusion. So I just had a few good points out of today's discussion. Just one point I wanted to add to what Kadam Kanan Prabhu said, and some of you have shared, is technology has increased, and it helps us diagnose diseases in a better way. You can take it as a positive, but you can also take it as a negative also on the other side, because I remember, and I'm sure there are, in age more elderly people around here. I remember my grandmother telling me that when she delivered her babies, that's my father and his brothers and sisters, she never went to a hospital. She never had any drugs. She was never given any sedatives or anything. The doctor just came. He felt her pulse, like pulse, nadi we say, right?
Yeah.
He felt her pulse, and he said, yeah, time has come. and he just sent a midwife at home, and the delivery happened. And she had got 6 children. Now, they didn't have any sophisticated machines to see her heart rate and her pulse rate and whether the baby is fine, whether the baby is breathing. I mean, there's so many things happening here, right? And I'm not trying to say that what's happening here now is bad or it's not good. But what I'm saying is the technology of those doctors, just by feeling the pulse, and those of you who deal with any Ayurvedic doctors, not only now, but in the past, they will feel the pulse for almost 5 or 10 minutes. And you'll fall asleep. But they'll feel the pulse and they will tell you just by feeling the pulse, everything about you externally and internally. How about that? Where did that technology come from? Where did that knowledge come from? They're not dreaming. Yeah. I know somebody even currently who does that. He feels the pulse for maybe not 10 minutes, but at least 3 to 4 minutes. And then he'll tell you your whole life history. I mean, your medical history, I mean. And well, they may not be 100% right, but they are pretty much 80% right in what it is, what they assume. So what I'm trying to say is the knowledge, the level of knowledge and skills at that point has actually been lost because our mental qualifications are taken over by machines. Even people used to remember phone numbers. I challenge all of you. Do you remember even 10 phone numbers that you dial on a regular basis?
Not at all. Own number you don't know.
Own number you don't know. You're right, Prabhu. Many times I ask Prabhu, oh, what's your phone number? Oh, Prabhu, I don't know my phone number. Let me check on my phone. So that person is checking his own phone number in his phone. Right? So it is not that people, the mental facilities were superior at that time, but people used to exercise their mental facilities because there was no other option. They were taught to learn. Now, because we have got an option, we choose not to use our mental facilities. And that's why, because the mind has nothing to think, it goes in all the wrong directions and you land up being in the mental asylum.
Dementia.
Yeah. So this is, this is just an example of how things have deteriorated over the past. But in conclusion, as some of you have said, this is a world of duality. We can never say that we are only deteriorating, and we can never say that we are only progressing. But as we have all agreed, there is some progress, definitely. But the progress, as Abhash Prabhu also very nicely pointed out, that progress, if it is used nicely, can be beneficial. But unfortunately, in today's time, we see that progress or that advancement in any field is actually being exploited by a few, and it has more harmful effects than the good effects it is supposed to give us. And I think as should we say, responsible citizens of the society, it is our duty to first of all understand the situation around us in the right perspective through the Shastras, and communicate this message to at least people who are dependent on us or who we have an influence over. Because at the end of the day, you make one progress, you go down 9 times. You come up 1, you go down 9. I'm sure all of you will agree.
Yes.
So do one thing good, but then at the end result is 9 things are bad. Before, maybe the proportion was a bit different. You do more good and less bad. But now you do little bit good, more is bad. And why is that? Because our mind and intelligence needs to be purified. Because if we have got something good and your mind and intelligence is not purified, is not correct, then what is the possibility that we will use it in a better way, in a nice way? Yes. We will only think of exploitation because our mind intelligence is polluted. So that's why the solution Vyasadeva gave, I mean, this is what Vyasadeva could see. So we took two weeks to understand the dilemma that was going on in Vyasadev's mind. Coming back to Malti Mataji's question, why are we doing all this? Because Vyasadeva was thinking about this more than 5,000 years ago in his mind. What we are thinking today for 2 weeks. And that is the reason now as we move on, we'll see how much he had to struggle to give us the right information in the right way, so that we can benefit being born in Kali Yuga, the age of deterioration. So let's move on to next 19. Okay, let's read the verse.
Yeah.
Chatur hotram karma shuddham prajanam vaidikam yadadad yajna vedam vidham.
He saw that the sacrifices mentioned in the Vedas were means by which the people's occupation can be purified. And to simplify the process, he divided the one Veda into 4 in order to expand them among men.
So what is the important thing here? He saw that the sacrifice in the Vedas are meant for what? People's occupation can be
Purified.
purified.
Yeah.
Why they have to be purified? If it is not purified, it will be misused.
Yeah. That is the whole.
Correct. So by doing sacrifices, by following the regulations, we are actually purifying our existence. Unfortunately, because of various reasons, the purification process slowly started deteriorating to the point it has completely stopped now, almost. So if we are not purified, our existence is not purified, how can we be using things in the best possible way?
Yeah.
And if we don't, how can we expect to be happy, content, and satisfied? No way. So he could see that, and to simplify the process of purification,
Yeah.
Vyasadeva divided one Veda into 4. And then he delegated that process to his disciples. So here Prabhupada writes that there was only one Veda before. And what was the name of that Veda? It was Yajurved. Only one Veda. And then from Yajurved, it was further divided.
Yeah.
And then he slowly moved on to other literatures, other scriptural literatures to make it even easier. So this is the same section. So 19, 20, 21, 22, and 23.
Yeah.
So we'll read that section and then we'll take it together in our discussion. Rig Yajuhu Samatharvakya Vedas Chatvara Itihasa Puranam Panchamo Veda Pujyate.
The 4 divisions of the original sources of knowledge, the Vedas, were made separately, but the historical facts and authentic stories mentioned in the Puranas are called the 5th Veda.
So this is again information for us. So there are 4 Vedas, but all the Puranas, which are nothing but history, they are historical narrations. They are all together classified as the 5th Veda.
Yeah.
Tatrarga Veda Dhara Pailaha Samago Jaimini Kavihi Vaishampayana Evaigo Nishnado Yajusham Uta.
After the Vedas were divided into 4 divisions, Paila Rishi became the professor of the Rig Veda, Jaimini the professor of the Samaveda, and Vaishampayan alone became glorified by the Yajurveda.
Yes. You have to remember this. RPSJ White V.
RPSJ
YV. So Rig Veda is Paila, Samaveda is Jaimini, and Yajurveda is Vaishampayana. Okay. So these are the 3 Vedas. And the next verse talks about the remaining. Atharvangirasamasit Sumanturvaruno Munihi Itihasa Puranam Pita Me Romaharshanaha.
The Sumantu Muni Angira, who was very devotedly engaged, was entrusted with the Atharva Veda. And my father, Rom Harshan, was entrusted with Puranas and historical records.
So who's saying this? My father?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vyasdev, isn't it?
No.
Who's the son of Romaharshan? Hey.
Sutta Goswami.
Yes.
Goswami.
Sutta Goswami. Sutta Goswami is the son of Romaharshan. And you know the story of Romaharshana, right?
Yeah.
How he was killed by Balram. With a straw.
Only
With a
grass.
blade of grass.
Blade of
Yes.
grass.
Yes. So that's another story. So Angira was Atharva Ved, AA. And Romaharshana is Purana. So PR. So RPSJ, YV, AA, PR. I don't know if there's an easier way to have this an acronym, but at least if you remember 5 sets of these 2 letters, we can remember these professors. So those are the 5 Vedas and the 5 authors of the Vedas. Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, this is actually the 4 pillars of our religion. That is Rig Ved, Yajur Ved, Sham Ved, Atharva Ved. If we look at the Golok chart, it is here.
Correct.
So it's
Correct.
very easy to remember the 4 pillars, and you can come to the right order of Vedas.
Vedas. Yeah, that's another point. Sure. And then he says how other branches started. Taetar Vedam Swam Vyasyan Anekada Shishyai Prashishyai Satchishyai Vedas Te Shaksho Bhavan. Okay, translation somebody?
All these learned scholars in their turn rendered their entrusted Vedas unto their many disciples, grand disciples and great grand disciples, and thus the respective branches of the followers of the Vedas came into being.
So Prabhupada writes in the purport, the original source of knowledge, of all knowledge, any knowledge, is the
Vedas.
Then he says there is no branches of knowledge, either mundane or transcendental, which do not belong to the original text of the Vedas. So anything that we know today, any information, any knowledge that we see today ultimately finds its source in the Vedas, just as all religions, all spiritual paths, everything ultimately, the source of all of that is the Supreme Lord. So just like Supreme Lord is a source of everything, the Vedas is also the source of all
knowledge
and material knowledge and spiritual knowledge. And then Prabhupada writes that they have simply been developed into different branches. They were originally rendered by great, respectable and learned professors, Prabhupada writes, not just munis, rishis. They are actually professors of different departments, departmental heads. And then Vyasadeva did something special. Taeva Veda Durmedhair Haryante Purushair Yatha Evam Chakara Bhagavan Vyasaha Kripana Vatsalaha.
Thus, the great sage Vyasadeva, who is very kind to the ignorant masses, edited the Vedas so they might be assimilated by less intellectual men.
Why did he feel the need to do this? In the purport, Prabhupada explains to us, right, that the Vedas is actually not very easily understood by ordinary men. Why? There is a stricture that no one should try to learn the Vedas who's not a qualified Brahmana. Qualified is important, not a born Brahmana, but a qualified Brahmana. Right? So this word qualified Brahmana has unfortunately been misrepresented,
Lost.
and people misguided. Why do you say qualified Brahmana? Means you have to qualify yourself to come to the level of understanding the Veda. And that can only happen by Brahmanic training. And Brahmanic training means it involves those two things that we discussed in the Brahmachari class last Sunday, is about Shastra and Shasan. So there has to be discipline, and there has to be a lot of study involved to be able to come to even start to read and understand the Vedas. Now, most of the people, ordinary people, do not have that time and that inclination. So that's why it was said that only Brahmanas could study the Vedas, because otherwise you cannot understand them. So why waste your time? Just like sometimes people, when they are new in the Krishna conscious movement and they are told Bhagavatam is 18,000 verses, 18 books. Prabhu, you'll have to read that. What is the first reaction? Oh my God, I'll never be able to do it in this lifetime.
Not dislike, yes.
Yes, that's the first reaction. Even we had that reaction, I'm sure, some of us, if not all.
Yes.
But what happens? Do we start reading straight away? No. What happens? We start associating with devotees who have read Bhagavatam. Is it not?
Yes.
We
Very
start,
correct.
oh, this Prabhu has read Bhagavatam 2 times. Oh, he's done 3 times. He's read 5 times. And we associate with them. And then when we start associating with them, some miracle happens. In the next few years, before we even realize, we have finished reading Bhagavatam. Before it was a stress, but because you are associating with the right people, it becomes a blissful experience, and before you know, you have finished. Is it not? Or at least you have started the process, and you are enjoying the process. That is a key thing. So here Prabhupada mentions that because sometimes people say Vedas is not for everybody, but it is not a discrimination just based on the basis of somebody's caste. It is not a discrimination. It is a qualification that is prescribed for people who would like to understand. Just like any other source of knowledge or study, you need to be qualified to do that study. So Veda is also a similar department, and that's why Prabhupada calls the professors of different Vedas accordingly. They are professors. And essentially, why Brahminical? Because you need to be in the mode of goodness. A person in the mode of passion and ignorance cannot touch the Veda. So you need to be trained as a proper Brahmana, and then you have hopes. But unfortunately, in this Kali Yuga, nobody is situated in the mode of goodness, right?
Yeah.
So how can you even touch the Vedas? Forget understand and implement. There's no hope. There's no hope. So Vyasadeva could see that less intelligent people will be swayed by modes of passion and ignorance. How will they even get the benefit of Vedas? So what did he do? Stri Shudra Dvijabandhunam Traina Shruti Gochara Karma Shreyasi Mudhanam Shreya Evam Bhavediha Iti Bharatam Akhyanam Kripaya Munina Kritam.
Out of compassion, the great sage thought it wise that this would enable men to achieve the ultimate goal of life. Thus, he compiled the great historical narration called the Mahabharata for women, laborers, and friends of the twice born.
So after doing all of that, he compiled Mahabharata for a very specific purpose. And again, this is a verse. There is also a verse in similar verse in Bhagavad Gita. Stri Vaishyas Tatha Shudras.
Yeah.
Right? And we've discussed this when we did Bhakti Shastri. Never ever discuss this verse with new people.
Yeah.
Even in your dreams. that is a sure shot way of disaster.
Yeah.
Because the first thing is going to come is why Prabhupada says women are less intelligent. Yeah. So, okay. So, I mean, we've had a robust discussion, so I'm not getting into that at this point. I'm sure everybody has got the right perspective. Now, this purport is very nice because Prabhupada actually explains to us apart from the fact that who are these people and why they are classified as less intelligent. And he gives a lot of emphasis on the fact that most of the people today, they are born without samskaras or purificatory processes. Now, if you don't have the samskaras, then how do you expect that the child who is born will be born with the right qualities? Just like Prabhupada writes that the Garbhadan samskar is not there. So the person who is born is not a twice born. Samskarat bhaved dvijaha, janmana jayate shudra. Samskarat bhaved dvija, veda pathat bhaved vipraha, brahma janati iti brahmana. Right? So it is said that everybody is a born shudra, but a person who has got samskar is called a twice born. Means a human being has to be twice born. He has to be born first from his mother's womb, and second by
Knowledge.
by the samskara, the purificatory ceremony, which is completely lost nowadays. And also what happens in the name of ceremony is also completely deviated and diluted. So so we don't know what's going on in the name of so-called samskaras. But we are fortunate at least that we are in Prabhupada's movement. The devotees who are under the directions of Prabhupada, they are doing samskaras. And for when we need to do any purificatory ceremonies, birthdays, marriages, deaths, whatever it is, we should only approach Vaishnavas. And whatever direction they give us, whatever instruction they give us, we should try and follow that sincerely and try and avoid going. I mean, unless there is no other option, nobody to help amongst devotees, then we may have to, out of social pressure, just do the minimal that we need to do outside. But most important focus should be here. Like just 10 days back, I lost my kaka. He left his body. And all the family members were saying, you should do this, you should do that, and so many things going on, So, of course, they don't expect everybody to do it, but because we're in the same gotra, we are supposed to follow that inauspicious, those few days. And then we are supposed to do a ceremony where you go to the Ganga, you shave off your, you don't cut your nails and grow your beard and all that. Then you need to do that ceremony. Then the next day, you need to do a puja to, in the name of the departed soul. That's second day. And the third day, you need, this is a Bengali tradition, okay? I don't know whether it's how bona fide it is. But third day, you are supposed to have fish. So yesterday when I called my uncle, my small uncle, this is my elder uncle who expired, who left. I called my younger uncle. He said, I'm at this other auntie's house, and we are going through that fish eating ceremony. I said, okay, you finish it off. I'll talk to you tomorrow. You know what to say, right? Thankfully, they did ask me what to do. They told me you should also do something. I said, yes, we will do puja. And I was thinking in my head, you do puja once a year or when somebody dies. We do puja every day, every morning. So today morning puja, I did, and I dedicated it to my uncle. You do, when the person dies, then you put some photo and then you call some pandit and you do some, thing which you don't even know what you're doing, but you do it just to please the society and your relatives. And I said, yes, we did a puja as well. You know what? We read 3 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. You know what? We chanted 4 rounds of the Maha Mantra, which is the best thing that we can do for the departed soul. And guess what? We offered it to my uncle. They didn't understand, but they nodded and felt we did something nice. So by just following what Prabhupada has given us, we should have the conviction that actually this Maha Mantra and this reading of Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam is, millions and millions of times better than just chanting some mantra by some professional priest who has no interest in your departed soul. He is there for his money. You pay him a few thousand rupees and he will come and do any mantra for anybody, whether you're dead or alive. He doesn't care. But people don't, have to call, have to do this. I mean, social customs are there. We cannot go against them. But we should also be thoughtful. Sometimes we get swayed, no, they are telling us to do what to do. If they are there, we have to just do it, minimal. But if they are not there, like, they are not coming to see what we are doing. They are in India, we are here. So we just do, we just acknowledge what it is and we just do what it is. And we felt nice that we have done something very positive for uncle. And wherever he is, at least he will get the benefit of whatever little bit we could do. And for the relatives, we have said, yes, we've done something. So they are happy. We know uncle will get the benefit and we also feel nice that we've done something. So this is the biggest gift of Srila Prabhupada, of our parampara, of Srila Vyasadeva. And to give us this, he had to struggle so much. So in the next paragraph, Prabhupada writes about Dvija Bandhu, which again, all of you are aware. So if people, they do not do the samskara and the child is born without the Garbhadhana samskar, they are called Dvija Bandhu. Dvija Bandhu means, Prabhupada writes, they are certainly not as intelligent as the children of the regular twice born family. So by not doing the samskara, you are actually giving them a bad start in their life. So the Dvija Bandhus are classified with Shudra and woman class because Shudras don't have any samskaras. Right? And they don't have to undergo any samskara except the ceremony of marriage, because they are not at that level of understanding the importance of these samskaras and they don't need to. And then Prabhupada writes, the last paragraph is very important because he says, what is the importance of Mahabharata? So he says the purpose of Mahabharata is to administer the purpose of the Vedas, and therefore within this Mahabharata, the summary Veda of Bhagavad Gita is placed. What a beautiful explanation. Why? Because the less intelligent people are interested in stories more than philosophy. And therefore, philosophy of the Veda in the form of Bhagavad Gita is spoken by Lord Krishna. And Bhagavad Gita is the essence of all Vedic scriptures. So he concludes by saying Vedanta philosophy is only for spiritual graduates. Postgraduate spiritual student can enter into the devotional service. So when somebody engages in devotional service, they are considered postgraduate spiritual student. When people say, are you spiritual? They said, we are postgraduate spiritual. Right? Not in the sense of pride, but in the right perspective. Then Prabhupada writes, devotional service is a great science, and the great professor is the Lord himself in the form of Lord Chaitanya.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Mahaprabhu ki jai. So this section concludes the part where Vyasadeva, he was very compassionate, very disturbed, just like we express our disturbance in the form of this deterioration that we have experienced ourselves. And that's why all the more when we experience this distress, we experience this unhappiness, we want to hold on to something tightly that is actually the source of all happiness. And that is none other than the Supreme Lord himself. So when we experience the happiness, it is natural for us to then spread this happiness around. It is very natural. Prabhupada used to say, you hear. And one fine day you will speak. That is for sure. Because we are filling in. As soon as we fill in, we will have to have an outlet. So we fill in from the ears and we give it back through the mouth. So that process has to go on. The more you give, the more you want to hear. The more you hear, the more you want to give. And that process goes on. But if you give too much and don't hear, then what happens? There is nothing to give.
Yeah.
You hear too much and don't give, what happens?
You become a miser.
Saturated. You're too saturated. You're miser. You're not giving. You're taking and not giving. So our movement is based on giving. First, we have to see what can I give. But to give, we need to have. So dadati pratigranati, guhyam akhyati prachati, bhungte bhojayate chaiva, shadvidam priti lakshanam. So this text 4, nectar of instruction, you must remember all the time in terms of association. And then the last section is 26 to 31.
31.
Where Vyasadev basically expresses his dissatisfaction. And then that causes his spiritual master to appear.
Yep.
Finally, in the next chapter. So this is just an amazing section that we have put together. What's our time now? I think just 2-3 minutes. We'll maybe conclude here today. Yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji.
The next section we'll take next week. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai.
Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Krishna Prabhu ki jai.
Prabhu ki
Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
Okay.
Krishna.
Comments or questions on today's discussion, or you want to add something? All good? Already added?
Enough.
Okay, fine.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Good
Hare
then.
Krishna.
Okay, Hare Krishna. See you next week.